What's up, Axie fam? What's up, Axie fam? I can't believe this is already out. Let's get into it. Season 2 Mechanics Explained. The patch is happening as we speak. Season 2 Game Mechanics Explained. Got about 35 minutes left in maintenance, and then this patch will be live. Oh, this is exciting. Game mechanics. Class potential points now scale linearly with class purity. So with runes and charms acting as a core aspect of gameplay, it's been observed that players found themselves restricted to Axies that possessed a bare minimum amount of potential points to be truly effective. That's so true. Right now, Terminators, you can't play them. They're bugs, they're reptiles, they are dusks with reptile parts, bug parts, and they're just unusable because they have like one of each potential point. So the trade-off for being able to mix and match parts wasn't justified. We're reworking the potential point system so that all Axies will have 14 potential points, with the exception of pure 7 out of 7 Axies, which will still have 15 potential points. This is very cool. New players, right? That finally decide to delve into the game, then they'd spend like 30 bucks on a team, and they can't use rune or charms. And then you'd have people that would put like earth stamp on something, and there's all the potential points. So this, I applaud this. This is very good. This is something I didn't even really consider. I thought what they would do is put a mechanism in the game where you could release an Axie to get the upgrade parts. And when you upgraded a part the first time, it would increase the potential points the Axie would have. That's what I thought was going to happen, right? But this is huge, right? The number of equipable charms based off the new system, right? So with the 15, it could have 2 potential point charms, or 3 of the 5 potential point charms, 3 sticky lizards. This will make it to where those players that pick up those $20 and $30 teams aren't so disheartened and having such a time struggling, and you can't equip the stuff you're crafting, so it feels really bad to be a new player in the game. So this is going to help that. This is very good. Neutral charms can be equipped with mixed potential points. Oh, this is huge. So if you have 2 bird potential and you have 2 plant potential, then you could use one that's 4 on one or the other. In line with the potential point system rework, another consideration was that Axies with low purity in certain classes would have spare points they couldn't spend, right? Worse, even at times, Axies would have potential points they couldn't even use. Like in the case of, I have a bird that doesn't have a bird part, and so I can't even use that bird potential point. So this is very good, especially in the case of Dawns. I was about to say that because I also have a mech that doesn't have any, like, they don't have any mech parts. Can't use that mech, so you're like down a potential point, so it feels kind of whack. So it looks like you can see if we can figure it out here. So we have a bug plant, beast plant, right? So we have, it's showing us down here, we have 3 plant, 3 beast. We have a plant, beast, and bug for the rocket stamp. Whoa! Neutral charms have been identified as not being truly neutral while they are equipped by every class. The cost to equip them could only be paid for with potential points of the same card class. Oh, I see what it's saying here. So if it was a bug move, you couldn't put a neutral charm on it for some reason sometimes. Like it's like you had to have a bug. It like was checking. So potential points will be assigned in the following order: card class, aqua, beast, bird, bug, dawn, dusk, mech, plant, and reptile. So it's going to prioritize using those leftovers to use a mixed one for a neutral charm. So it doesn't apply for like this plant charm of vitality, but for that rocket stamp, it could use anything but in that order. New game mechanic, energy burst. Ooh, okay. It says effects that provided players with additional energy would allow them to out-tempo their opponent. Nemo, Cottontail, Zen, which nobody plays Zen, and I think Zen's really good. Rage, right? They enable their opponent to out-tempo. Carrot Hammer, Kataro. This resulted in the players essentially being forced to play energy gain, otherwise they would be left behind their opponents in most matches. Yeah, I agree with this. Very solid points. Furthermore, games would feel extremely swingy when players would high or low roll their card draws, so luck of the draw became very relevant in how games would play out. In turn, players could find themselves getting snowballed, especially after losing an Axie early in the match. I've said this many times. This consideration is similar to when the scaling resource system was introduced, which has since greatly improved the player experience, especially in the early game, as well as balanced out a lot of strengths for going first or second. Players will now be able to trigger an energy burst by collecting energy fragments. Each energy burst will increase a player's energy per turn by 1 permanently, and every 2 energy bursts will increase the player's card draw by 1 permanently. So we can see this counter is going up. Get to 15. Now he's at 3, but now he goes to 4 energy. And now he's getting an energy shard, and it's going up. So it's going to be kind of reminiscent of Hearthstone a little bit. Kind of like Shadowverse a little bit. I don't know if you've ever played Shadowverse, but so the number of energy fragments required per energy burst is increased each time. 0 to 1 energy is free, right? You start off with 1. So 1 to 2 is probably a very small amount of the shards, and then it goes up each time. But so it's like you get them here, so they're like spread out a little bit further and further, right? So this would change the dynamics of Bloodmoon, which is probably why the next thing we're going to see is Bloodmoon changes. So energy fragments are collected by using energy to play cards. Energy fragments are collected equals played cards energy cost. So you use one that costs 1, you get 1. If you use one that costs 2, you get 2. Very simple. Using energy to keep a card, except for the free keep given on round 1. So the free keep or retain does not increase your energy shard, because that'd be kind of wonky. From effects of cards, runes, and charms. So I'm guessing we're going to get some cool Dawn stuff, or some changes to some cards that also give us energy shards. So there's a whole new dynamic. Are you excited for this? Leave a comment right now in the video if you are excited about this. So you can see they have different energies used, right? So this player is already on 4 energy turns. So cool. It's going to make 2 energy cards more viable in cards that in setups that aren't rage. The second player has a slightly lower requirement for the first energy to compensate for going second. So we have a chart here. The energy burst system will give players more options as the game goes on, as well as allow players to focus on this game mechanic to ramp up towards mid-range or late-game strategies, like I was saying about Bloodmoon changes. Some effects will allow players to consume energy fragments as part of their mechanics. Other effects will allow destroying or stealing energy fragments from your opponent as well. Rice, let me steal some of your energy fragments so I get to 4 energy before you do. Right? Note, most effects, among others, that currently involve energy will be adjusted accordingly with the system. I'm guessing Nemo, Cottontail, and Carrot Hammer and Guitaro are all being completely changed. Bloodmoon Rework. Bloodmoon as a mechanic is meant to ensure that matches end in a timely manner because of how it deals environmental damage. The Sustain archetype was developed with the goal of outlasting an opponent, effectively extending games longer than they normally would. That way they can outlast their opponent. Ideally, teams that want to win at a later point in a match should be able to develop their position while mitigating or disrupting their opponent's game plan to a point where they can shift their strategy and finish off their opponent. With this in mind, we're introducing effects that are geared towards win conditions that can be worked towards. As such, Bloodmoon will be reworked so that instead of doing environmental damage to all Axies on the field, all Axies will have their maximum HP reduced each turn. Players will be unable to restore max HP that has been reduced through healing. This achieves the goal of ending games inevitably, and the only way to delay this effect would be by increasing your maximum HP. How would you go about increasing your maximum HP? With this change, Axies will ultimately need to be finished off through a player's actions and not through just the Bloodmoon damage itself. The value of cards will scale accordingly as effective HP is lowered. Current HP will be unaffected by Bloodmoon except when maximum HP is reduced below the current HP. In this scenario, current HP will be adjusted to be equal to the max HP. Effectively, Axies that are already low on health will not be pressured by Bloodmoon until the cumulative reduction reduces their HP below their current value. 30 HP left the whole game. and then Bloodmoon starts, it doesn't kill him immediately. Okay, so it's going to make Bloodmoon play out a little bit differently. Current HP will be unaffected by Bloodmoon, except when maximum HP is reduced below the current HP. So if you have 100 HP, and Bloodmoon would reduce it to your max HP is now 100, and then it's 100. If you have 140 HP and it's reduced to 100, then it loses 40 HP in that instance. Cumulative reduction, so 20, 50, 90, 140, 200, 270, 350, 440, 540. So we're not going to be going into Bloodmoon 24. That's like instant death, unless you have some crazy stuff. So we might see some ways to increase your HP a lot more. And I am imagining this is because the new potential points. We'll see a lot more Axies with better HP charms in the later stage, mid to late game in the season. Base HP of NFT Axies increased from 320 to 400. Base HP of Axies has been increased, I'm assuming, I'm going to guess here, because the starting energy and the starting cards in your hand is also going to be changed. Okay, speed up the game, the time that it takes for the games, right? Base HP of the Axies has been increased in line with the intended pace of the game with consideration to the new mechanic Energy Burst as well as the Bloodmoon rework. It has been observed that games are decided very early in the match, leaving little room for a player to come back later on. As such, players have made it a standard to have high damage mitigation as well as additional health from charms just to survive the early game. With this change, we hope to allow players to explore other charm 400 HP base Penguin with a bunch of HP charms being impossible to kill. Also, I'm assuming we're going to get Malediction and Penguin and Raven's Tactics reworked because the damage reduction on those is too good. Maybe even Arcane Protection and Wall Gecko. With this change, we hope to allow players to explore other charm loadouts as the amount of effective health points received is not as high as it was in the previous. Axies should naturally be able to survive long enough into a battle. So starter Axies will be adjusted at a later point, so not right away. Rework, game mechanic keep. So they're changing return to keep. Instead of returning a card from your hand to the top of the draw pile, you will be able to keep them in hand. Oh, that's so much better. This allows players to keep cards at the cost of energy, should they wish to use them later on without hurting their tempo by slowing down their draws, and effectively it messes with your deck reset cycles. So you could draw back a card or buy back a card so you don't reshuffle your deck if you had a void, right? So you can't do that anymore. So buying back a card makes it stay in your hand. So it also gives you more play potential. Like say you have something that gets put to sleep and then you can't use its cards, well, you can buy those back in the next turn. You have those and your new draw, right? So very, very, very cool. So it should affect tempo, but players will be able to set up larger hands to give themselves more options and potentially more actions in a single turn, because we're going to have 4 energy, maybe 5, maybe 6. I don't know. It depends on how that burst mechanic is going to work. Adjustment limit, no longer completely disabled cards. The current implementation of limit would sometimes result in a player drawing cards and being unable to play them. Vanilla, that is, even at least for the base value of the card. Limit is being adjusted so that players will still be able to use cards that have been limited by the mechanic. However, cards that are limited no longer apply their effect. It says no, this does not affect card mechanics such as targeting, furthest random, AoE, etc., and other cards such as banish, return, innate, unstable. So what it's saying is if a card was affected by some type of disable, it loses any effects like adding shards, stealing shards, stealing HP, getting HP. So it becomes like a vanilla card, like 50 damage, like a revenge card or something. Viable minting fee of runes and charms. Ooh, the cost of minting runes and charms will be scaled according to their rarity. So it'll be $9 to... My voice just changed. I don't like having the cough. Mystic, $9 to mint a mystic charm and $15 to mint a mystic rune. Paid in USD equivalent in excess. Reduced the base price, right? It was $3. So overall prices are down, except for mystics. These may not be the final values, and further adjustments may be required. Really interesting. All right, I'm super excited to see what else comes, because remember, this is only one of a couple of phases coming. Anyways, leave your thoughts down below what you think is the most exciting change that's coming. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Share this with your friends, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, Felicia. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe, man.